Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating narrative that actually functions as a brilliant, profound blueprint for your neurobiology. So, picture this scene for a second: a totally silent, vast cave. There's a fire burning without a single flicker, literally just a perfect sphere of blue white flames suspended right in the air. Sitting in the space is a dragon named Zoran, and sitting across from him is his human student, Fletcher. Now, Fletcher has just crossed 6 thresholds of incredibly rigorous training. His posture is perfectly aligned, his breath is coherent, and his attention is just rock steady. He's standing right on the brink of his 7th threshold, completely ready to unlock a brand new operating system for his mind.
Sitting there in that absolute silence, Fletcher whispers over to Zoran, "You know, something is happening. I feel quieter, but also way more alive. It's almost like the edges of me are softening." It's this really incredible, raw moment of realization. Zoran just looks at him and delivers this massive truth. Integration is not transcendence, it is coherence. Zoran goes on to explain that Fletcher is entering what he calls phase 8. But so what does that actually mean for his nervous system? And, well, more importantly, what does it mean for ours?
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the baseline of chaos, move into phase 8, hit the 3 markers of coherence, break down the 4 tools, and wrap it all up with the 7-minute ritual. Let's get right into it. Part 1, the baseline of chaos. To really understand this ultimate state of coherence, we have to first talk about the internal noise that you and I deal with literally every single day. Before Fletcher could even dream of reaching the 7th threshold, he had to grapple with the incredibly messy, chaotic way the human brain normally functions. Zoran breaks it down like this. Our nervous system is basically driven by 3 primary networks. First, you've got the executive network. Think of this as your taskmaster. It's responsible for all your focus and discipline. Next up is the salience network, which governs your emotions and your intuition. And finally, the infamous default mode network, or DMN. This one is your inner storyteller. It holds on to that continuous, non-stop internal narrative you have about yourself. Now, in our normal, everyday state, these 3 networks are just constantly fighting for the microphone. They interrupt each other, they massively drain our energy, they create a ton of internal conflict, and they produce an exhausting amount of cognitive noise. You absolutely know the feeling, right? Trying to focus on a tough task while your internal narrator criticizes your abilities, and simultaneously your emotions are pulling you in a totally different direction. It's a lot. But in the integrated state, those exact same networks synchronize. They cooperate and actually share the load. They reduce all that internal friction and start to operate beautifully as one unified system.
Part 2, Phase 8, Integration. And that brings us to Phase 8. I know, it totally sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel, but actually, scratch that. This is not magic at all. It's a very real biological upgrade that you can actively train your own nervous system to achieve. Phase 8 is, quite simply, pure neural efficiency at its absolute highest level. It is the exact moment when those disparate, competing brain networks we just talked about stop fighting and finally synchronize to operate as a single, incredibly powerful system.
Part 3, 3 markers of coherence. So you might be wondering, how do you even know when you've reached this state? Well, Zoran raises a single claw, and 3 glowing symbols appear in the air, representing real, measurable biological markers. The very first one is reduced self-referential activity. Basically, this is the moment your internal narrator finally steps aside and takes a break. When Fletcher said he felt his edges softening, this is exactly what was happening in his brain. This first marker is really all about quieting down that default mode network. Because, think about it, when the DMN quiets down, you stop constantly narrating your life and you actually just start experiencing it. And the benefits here are just huge. You get way less rumination, far less of that exhausting self-criticism, and a major drop in identity rigidity. In exchange, you gain incredible presence, clarity, and fluidity. Like Zoran says, the me becomes quieter. And guys, this isn't a loss, it's absolute liberation. And that flows supernaturally into marker 2, increased global neural synchrony. If marker 1 is all about quieting the inner critic, marker 2 is about activating the genius. The brain stops acting like a squabbling committee and starts performing like a masterfully conducted symphony. When the brain integrates like this, regions that normally compete with each other begin to cooperate, which produces gamma coherence. That is a literal state of peak mental processing. The physical changes are totally tangible. We're talking improved memory, wildly enhanced creativity, much faster problem solving, and deep, deep emotional stability.
In this moment, Fletcher realizes that integration isn't just about feeling peaceful, it's about intelligence. And Zoran confirms it, explicitly calling integration the absolute highest form of intelligence. Finally, Zoran reveals the third glowing symbol, stable parasympathetic dominance. This is a real game changer. This is where being calm stops being some fleeting achievement that you have to constantly work for, and instead, it becomes your permanent baseline configuration.
When your parasympathetic system, your rest and digest mode, becomes dominant, your entire physical organism shifts. You experience high heart rate variability, noticeably lower inflammation, a totally stable mood, access to really deep rest, and incredible emotional resilience. Fletcher has a massive breakthrough right here. He realizes, wow, calm isn't something I achieve, it's something I become. Calm is not a vacation destination you visit for 10 minutes after meditating. It is a structural configuration of your nervous system.
Part 4, the 4 tools.
Okay, so now that we know exactly what phase 8 feels like biologically, how do we actually get there? Zoran doesn't just leave Fletcher hanging with theory. He gives him the practical tools to stabilize this amazing integrated state. The very first practice is completely foundational, the whole system breath. This technique is specifically designed to act as an immediate override switch, instantly synchronizing your heart, your breath, and your brain right in the present moment. The mechanics of this are just beautifully simple. Step 1. Inhale deeply and smoothly for exactly 6 seconds. Step 2. Exhale smoothly for exactly 6 seconds. Step 3. As you're doing this, actively feel the breath moving through your entire physical body. This perfectly measured rhythm creates immediate, undeniable coherence in the nervous system.
Building right on top of that breathwork, Zoran introduces the remaining 3 practices: the identity drop, global awareness, and the stillness protocol. Together, these are incredibly powerful keys used to deliberately quiet the noisy mind and fire up those global neural networks we were talking about earlier.
What's truly fascinating here is how wonderfully simple and direct the actual mechanics are. For the identity drop, you just silently say to yourself, "For this moment, I do not need to be anyone." That phrase specifically targets and quiets your default mode network. Then, for global awareness, you simultaneously expand your attention to include your body, your breath, sound, and the space around you, all at once. Finally, the stillness protocol. It is exactly what it sounds like. You sit completely, totally still for 3 minutes, just letting your body and mind deeply settle.
Part 5, the 7-minute ritual.
So, we've got the theory, and we've got the tools. To truly reap the benefits, though, Zoran gives Fletcher a specific 7-minute daily ritual. And you can literally use this as a blueprint in your own life starting today. Here's the breakdown. 1 minute on the whole system breath. Then 2 minutes holding global awareness. Following that, 2 minutes of the strict stillness protocol. And finally, 2 minutes dedicated to the identity drop, immediately followed by a specific journaling prompt. That's it. Just 7 minutes a day to shift your baseline from chaos to neural coherence. But before Fletcher fully steps into this totally new reality, Zoran delivers one final, incredibly striking warning. Phase 8 is not a peak, the dragon says. It is a doorway. He warns Fletcher that integration will dissolve the illusions he has used to survive his whole life. When Fletcher asks if that's dangerous, Zoran replies with this profound truth. Yes, but only to the parts of you that were never real. Shedding your false identity is simply the price of admission to a unified mind. And that brings us to the exact journaling prompt that concludes the 7-minute ritual and honestly our explainer today. After using these tools to quiet the mind and completely harmonize your nervous system, Zoran instructs Fletcher to write down the answer to this exact question. What remains when you stop being yourself? It's a heavy, profound thought to sit with, right? As the system unifies, as all that mental noise fades away, what is actually left behind? I'm going to leave you to ponder that for yourself, and I highly encourage you to try the 7-minute ritual to find out firsthand. Thanks for hanging out with me today on this journey into neural integration.